So today it is Vision India 75 series of top 500 leaders of the country. Lalit Pawar sir, Dr. Lalit Pawar, 79 batch IAS officer, former Secretary Government of India, Tourism Secretary as well as Minorities Secretary, has donned many hats during his rich career spanning over more than 35 years. And now he is the Vice Chancellor of the Vivekananda Global University, Rajasthan. Pawar Saab, we would like to hear from you on the area of your expertise academically as well as from your domain perspective when you were Secretary Government of India Tourism. And India's Incredible India campaign took a huge, kind of a leap during your tenure, along with the former Minister of Tourism, Mr. KJ Alphonse, your predecessor in the IAS from the 78 batch, if I correctly remember, 78, 79 batch, or probably your own batch. Now, the Vision series, documents top 500 speakers on their subjects of expertise, and Dr. Lalit Pawar, no better person than you, take us forward in this. If we may assume so, post-pandemic India, post-pandemic global world, in the area of tourism, Mr. Modi has harnessed the power of yoga all over the world. Can tourism be similarly be harnessed for, hello. Can tourism be similarly harnessed for India's growth story going forward for the next 25 years, being capped as the Amrit Kal by the Honorable Prime Minister to take India to glory in the 100th year of independence, that is 2047? Over to you, Dr. Lalit Pawar. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, Amit ji. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, how much is the time limit? Please let me know so that I can confine my presentation to that time allotted. How much time is there, Amit ji? Hello.
Pawar, sir, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
now I can hear you. बीच में आपकी आवाज चली गई थी और स्क्रीन पे आ रहा है that Vision India from Amit Gonka's network bandwidth is low. ये स्क्रीन पे आ रहा है.
Okay, Pawar sir, there's a network problem both sides, I guess. You please continue with your monologue. It is being aptly recorded now. India's growth story forward using tourism as the real strong pillar that we have with us over centuries to take India forward to glory as numero uno superpower. Yoga has been already harnessed. Tourism, you've been the former Secretary Tourism. Sir, what are your views on how tourism can be harnessed by the Prime Minister and the country overall? It has taken a big beating in the last 2 years. It has got a huge way forward, an amazing way forward to take India economically, socially, as well as from a global perspective. India's image will be improving like never before if tourism potential can be harnessed to its core. And as former Secretary Tourism, please take us, and also academically, you've been a doctorate of tourism. So no better person to speak on the subject than you. 25 years, tourism, India, global power 2047. Over to you, Dr. Lalit Pawar.
And how much time we have, Amit ji? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you please carry on with the monologue, sir, with respect to the tourism issue, because I cannot hear the question very distinctly.
How much is the time allotted?
You have 20 minutes, sir. 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Amit Gonka ji, Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to all our listeners. Vision India Forum is organizing a series of lectures by leading personalities in their respective domain area to celebrate Amrit Mahotsav of our country's freedom, Azadi Mahotsav, Swatantrata Mahotsav, and we are all proud Indians. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate Amit Gonkaji and his team at Vision India Forum for organizing this series, and also grateful that I have been invited to speak on my favorite subject, that is tourism. Now, I have 20 minutes, so I would like to be very precise and proceed in a very concise way. Okay, first let me have some highlights on the global tourism. As we all know, the pre-COVID tourism was one of the booming sectors of global economy. It contributes 5% of world's GDP. One in every 12 jobs comes from tourism sector, and the UNWTO, that is United Nations World Tourism Organization, forecasts that by 2030 we'll have 1.8 billion tourists. Translated into crores, it will be over 180 crores visitors traveling all over the world. So it is one of the fastest growing industry in the world, and it contributes huge to the economies of various leading countries into the area. Talking of Indian tourism, well, we are getting almost pre-COVID, we are getting 10 million foreign tourists per annum, growth rate around 14%, almost 2.5 crores Indians go out every year. Number of almost, you can say, 165 crores. Foreign exchange earning is 1.77 lakh crores. In billions, we can call it $27.31 billion. The rank of India in the arrivals at global level, we are 26th. When it comes to receipts, we are at number 13th. So now this is the what we call first initially global tourism scenario, and now Indian tourism scenario. Government of India's efforts have been, as mentioned by Amit Gonkaji, we had very dynamic tourism minister, Mr. KJ Alphonse, who is my batchmate and a good friend. Other than Mr. Alphonse, when I worked with Ministry of Tourism, we had Dr. Mahesh Sharma Sahab as our tourism minister, Subodh Khan Sahab as minister. We had the privilege of working with these two senior ministers of Government of India, and of course, former minister, Madam Shelja ji. Incredible India has been a great success, and we at Ministry tried our best to promote India at the global level, and the results were for all to see. But now the impact of COVID in last 1.5 years, we have seen there has been a great impact of this tourism because of COVID. 900, more than 900 million arrivals, globally speaking, have been cancelled. 2% of world's GDP has been lost, and I'm quoting this data from UNWTO assessment and their academic teams. And 70% of the sectors have been pushed back by 30 years. And as per the UNWTO estimates, it will take minimum 2.5 to 4 years for tourism sector to reach pre-COVID levels. Job losses, India, it is almost 9 million. And globally speaking, out of 270 destinations, 163 destinations are completely closed and stopped. Globally speaking, again, 120 million jobs are at stake. Now, what we should do as the theme of this monologue, as India should harness its tourism potential. Now that gradually we are coming out of the worst phase of COVID, and India has achieved again a very incredible feat of vaccinating almost 120 crores of our population. The very first page also, India was helping other countries also in fighting the COVID. And now the challenge is that we have to take precaution, as has been cautioned by Honorable Prime Minister, that we should conduct our affairs in a what we call as per the COVID protocol. Now, with COVID protocol, we can promote tourism and also encourage the growth of this tourism sector with four factors I would like to mention. Number one, our tagline of Ministry of Tourism globally when we promote India, it's Incredible India. But now from Incredible India, now we have to ensure that we are credible India. And when I say credible India, what I mean is that apart from very good management of COVID crisis, we have to ensure that when normal tourist flow starts post-pandemic, is maybe another 3 to 4 months away, then we have to be very, very clear about two aspects. That is public health, and have to now integrate our epidemiological indicators with tourism and also connect hygiene with sustainability of tourism. Because if we don't follow the COVID norms, then the growth of tourism industry might lead to a rise in cases of COVID, unless, of course, we observe COVID protocol. I have seen in last 3 months, there has been tremendous recovery of tourism sector. And tourism sector was one of the worst hit sector so far as our Indian tourism is concerned. Now, the recovery has been very good, especially if I can say at all India level, the domestic tourist has saved the day for us, because foreign tourist arrivals still is almost zero because of the international travel restrictions because of COVID. And now domestic travelers, after the relaxation and the relaxing the norm of COVID protocol, it has started flowing, and most of the properties in North India and South India now they are witnessing growth of our domestic tourists. But we have to be very cautious about our COVID protocol. And the new trends that we have noticed in last 2 to 3 months will be that now people are preferring outdoors locations, heritage hotels all over the country, resorts, boutique hotels, and these are now preferred destinations. And a new term has been coined by the tourism industry and the captains of tourism industry in India, and that is what they call vengeance tourism. Because after the lockdown and the very tough restrictions because of COVID, the pent-up demand for travel and going out and seeking leisure and pleasure has really gone many times, and we have to be very good, careful. But I'm sure the gradually now this sector, tourism and sector, will we are having this recovery, and I'm sure that it will help for sector. Now we have to also look after three aspects of the tourism industry when we say harnessing India's tourism potential. And there are three main players now. It is not still post-COVID. We are at, we can say, worst over, and now gradually by best management practices at global and at national level, now we can say that COVID endemic now is gradually becoming COVID pandemic. Pandemic is becoming endemic, confined to certain pockets. So we have to be careful while planning our tourism activities, take extra care in a sector-specific way. And three main players are there, of course: tourism stakeholders, government sector, private sector, and all captains of the industry, including the stakeholders. Then scientific community to look after our vaccination and prophylactic needs, and health authorities to take care of the COVID protocol and the COVID norms. Two more sectors we have to take care while harnessing the tourism potential. Now that the industry is again booming, that is social inclusion. You see what we have seen during crisis, most vulnerable section of our tourism scenario was basically all those sections like guides, auto rickshaw walas, folk artists, folk artisans, and day-to-day daily wage earners. When the flow of tourists stopped, these all people were almost hand to mouth. I can quote a case study in Rajasthan that the famous Manganiyar singers of Rajasthan, famous Langa singers of Rajasthan, famous cart persons of Rajasthan, they were all hand to mouth, and I got calls from them, and then I requested the respective collectors to help these artists. Honorable Chief Minister Gehlot Sahab announced some financial measures for giving relief to the folk artists and folk artisans and all. So government has to be very responsive, and we have to attempt, while harnessing tourism post-COVID, if I may say so, though it is not still strictly post-COVID, we can say that now during endemic COVID, social inclusion should be our priority. And now let us, as per the UNWTO recommendation, when we celebrated the World Tourism Day in 2021, the theme was, as given by UNWTO, is tourism for inclusive growth. This is the theme of this year's World Tourism Day, 27th of September, when we celebrated. So the theme is tourism for inclusive growth. And when you say inclusive growth, it has to have social inclusion on a very high priority. And I would recommend to Government of India and all the state governments who are active players in the tourism sector to repurpose tourism as support for the community. And it has to be now what you call not a tourism, but let us have it is an ecotourism, or shall we call it responsible tourism. Tourism which is taking care of the environmental aspects, tourism which is taking care of the health aspects, tourism which is taking care of the sociological aspects, tourism which is taking care of our deprived sections of society, and at the same time following the COVID protocol. And even when the COVID is over, we have to ensure that the inflow of tourists, whether it is domestic tourists or international tourists, should not have adverse impact on the host ecosystems from environmental point of view, from carrying capacity point of view, from cultural interaction point of view. It should not lead to any kind of pollution, and it should be sustainable so that we are able to harvest the benefits of tourism without resulting in a negative impact of tourism on the local host community or the local resources. So I would like to conclude, because the time is 20 minutes and we are at the end. So I would like to conclude, yes, India has been a success story when it comes to COVID management. In the first phase of COVID, we helped other countries. Tourism was completely down and we suffered, endured lockdown. But now gradually this pandemic is converting into endemic. Tourism flow has started. Domestic tourist is in upswing. Sector is now having a sigh of relief. Most hotels are reporting excellent booking, 70 to 80% is there. I'm sure with active promotion by Government of India, Ministry of Tourism and the state government, public-private partnership mode, we should be able to see the recovery of this tourism and the travel sector in coming months. And if you take care of the guidelines of Government of India and state governments for following COVID protocol, I'm sure coming months you will see a resurgence of Indian tourism, and our incredible India will also be an incredible success story in the field of tourism and foreign government act. Thank you very much.
Panwar sir, I have a few interactions, if you may permit.
Please carry on.
From a educational infrastructure perspective, how well placed is India currently? From a tourism sectoral perspective as well? I mean, do we have proper educational infrastructure for tourism, education to help people get skilled? We have NSDC, which has a tourism sector skill council, but that cannot replace proper courses on tourism.
At present, if you talk of skills, manpower for tourism, can you hear me, Amitji? Can you hear me, Amitji? Okay.
Yes, I can.
So, if I were to observe which is the weakest link in tourism management of our country, I would say the human resource. Human resource is the weakest link in our tourism. Lot of skilled personnel, and I suggest to Government of India and or to our state governments that the Institute of Hotel Management should be encouraged, should be strengthened, and we should launch short-term skill development programs, which can give us skilled personnel or skilled persons or cutting-edge services in tourism sector, whether it is food and beverage service, whether it is housekeeping, whether it is conducting a tour course, whether it is foreign language guide or a tour escort, cultural conservation, all these things. So we require a lot of skilled personnel in tourism sector, and this is a weak link. This is one of the weaker links. Thank you.
What's up, military tourism? Any views on military tourism?
See, military tourism is now catching up in the sense that now you have war museum coming up, and we also have on the border areas when tourists go to places like Rajasthan, Punjab, and other parts of our border. Uh, there are what you call war museums, and even Indian Army, Air Force, and the people are encouraging that our Indian citizens should visit the what you call the permissible areas of the cantonments where they have showcased the weaponry and the our stories of the wars where Indians have sacrificed their lives. And now even if you go to Jaisalmer, you'll find this famous Longewala tank battle. Hundreds of visitors are thronging, and you must have seen the change of guard at the Punjab border, Wagah border. So a huge scope, and it serves two purposes. Number one, it is
Awesome, can you hear me?
so I think there's a great scope for military tourism, and as per our Government of India's guidelines, we can promote in a very discreet way. Can promote military tourism. It has a great potential. Thank you.
Awesome, classical music like yoga is a huge soft power that we have over centuries. And India's classical musicians have made huge mark on the global audiences over the last few decades. Pandit Ravi Shankar, Zakir Hussain, Vishwa Mohan Bhatt, we name it. We have great people, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, huge number of great artists from Jaipur, Sabir Ali Khan today. So many people, Padma Shri Shoma Ghosh ji, now Bismillah Khan Sahab, but we have not really done justice to this entire classical music industry, so much so that when we walk into malls today, when we walk into amusement parks today, when we walk into retail showrooms today, any public place today, you were secretary tourism, you were having charge of the entire tourism industry. We never, I never hear the Indian classical music, even the instrumentation part of it being promoted in the public places, and most of the places it is frequented by the western music, and the entire new generation has hardly got any clue about. Even if I ask a kid of class 12, give me 10 names of great classical musicians, contemporary if not past, they will not be able to tell me so, despite they knowing everything under the sun because of social media. Now, tourism, music, very, very closely related. Your views?
Thank you very much, Ambiji. It's a very good question, and it's quite a big challenge. You are right when you observe that we have internationally and globally famous Indian musicians like Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, and Vishmohan Bhatt Sahab from Rajasthan. And there is no dearth of what you call the Indian musicians who are globally known. But when it comes to showcasing classical music for promotion of tourism, I think a lot of things has to be done. Well, classical dance forms are quite popular, whether it is Bharatanatyam, Kathak, or Manipuri, all those dance forms are quite popular. Ministry of Tourism, whenever we promote India at the global level, we ensure that most of our classical formats of performing arts are showcased. You are right. Dances are more popular when it comes to showcasing India as a cultural tourism destination. But instrumental music should be promoted, say, especially in the lobbies of 3 to 5 star hotels when there is a pipe music. I would request Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and the state governments also to advise the management of the hotels that as far as possible, they should play Indian instrumental classical music to promote. And also we have seen that most of the 5 star hotels in Rajasthan, and I'm sure in other states also, in their lobbies you'll find a sitar being played, or a sarod, or jaltarang for that matter. So you have a point that India's soft power, and especially our classical music, whether it is instrumental or vocal, they have a global appeal, and we have proved and we have celebrated the top artists at global level. The list is very long, and I think there is a lot of efforts we need to make to showcase our classical music and classical performing artists at global level for promotion tourism. A lot of things has to be done, and there has to be conscious effort on that. I agree with your observations. Thank you.
Global ambassadors, UN, WHO, they all, keep appointing ambassadors for their various initiatives and their, global purposes. Now, India's tourism is what India's tourism. No country is as pluralistic, as multicultural, diverse, like my country, like your country, like our country. I mean, we don't have, Gujarat, for example, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan was promoting Kutch, through the Gujarat Tourism Board. And Kutch is an unexplored kind of a area, and people who've been there, they tell me it's like white paradise. They tell me it's a wonderful place. Now, Kashmir, we have Kashmir, the heaven on earth. Unfortunately, inaptly marred by terrorism over the last 3 decades since the 1990. Now, what justice have we done to really market using our global ambassador powers? Adiya Mirza going to UN, or Ashwarya Rai going somewhere, or a sports person like Kapil Dev or Sunil Gavaskar or somebody, Sachin Tendulkar, for example. No, why haven't we had? Sachin Tendulkar was endorsing Skill India. Tourism Ministry, I don't really remember having got a brand ambassador of that stature to market India across the world. Alphonse told me, Mr. Alphonse, the Honorable former tourism Minister told me that, Incredible India is about positioning India's strength with respect to the interests of those countries which can be served by Indian tourism potential. Henceforth, we don't have a single brand campaign around it. That is what he told me technically. Now, but could not we have a multi-brand ambassadors for promoting tourism? Was it the budget constraints? Was it, what is it exactly?
Initially, we had, when I was working with the ministry, Mr. Amir Khan, the celebrated Bollywood actor, was our brand ambassador. And Prasun Joshi was also advising us on these matters. Amitabh Bachchan Sahab has done a great it's a success story when it comes to promotion. कुछ दिन तो गुजारे हैं गुजरात में. It was a very good campaign and beautifully showcased Gujarat's property. I've been to Gujarat many times and we promoted in a big way. I would recommend and suggest to authorities at Government of India level, at the state government levels, that now we have new celebrities like Neeraj Chopra, our gold medalist of javelin at the Olympics, Sania Mirza, again a tennis star. You also mentioned about Sachin Tendulkar Saab. Now even Virat Kohli is also. But there are very few countries which play cricket, so 10 to 15 countries. So we have to look for those global icons. I would suggest even Priyanka Chopra. She is globally known like Aishwarya Rai. And of course, Amitabh Bachchan Saab is also one of the top celebrities at the global level. And Amitabh Bachchan Saab's brand identity crosses almost all continents. In every continent, people are aware of Amitabh Bachchan Saab's stature and his thing. So I would urge Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and the state governments to identify those global icons who are from India and who excel in their respective fields, and then weave a campaign around them. And I'm sure it will be very well received, it will be a huge success. Even Mary Kom, for example, a sports icon, world champion 3 times. And the best part is that she's mother of 3 children and still she's a world champion. Even after the birth of the child, the way she has come back is outstanding. So there's no dearth of success stories in our sporting arena, in our entertainment arena, or in our classical music. So there are celebrities, and we can request Government of India and the state governments to launch media campaigns in 3 media, that is cyber media, what is social media platform, then electronic media platform, print media platform, and all those available methods to showcase India and using these achievers in their respective fields. I would even suggest that we have global success stories like the Infosys icon, Mr. Narayan Murthy, can be our brand ambassador. Sundar Pichai, our brand ambassador, because they are global Indians and they are leading now the top IT companies of the world. So Sundar Pichai, Narayan Murthy Saab, and even Satya Nadella ji, so and Indira Novi, these are the big names who have Indian connections. So this can be a corporate strategy of promoting and showcasing Indian tourism by these brand ambassadors, celebrities who are known all over the world. Thank you.
The corporates, I mean, see, cost-wise as well as utility-wise, Ayurveda yoga has really given a lot of, forex to this country, because that is what these people in the abroad countries are looking forward to, and they come for these kind of huge camps to India for the Ayurveda tourism and yoga tourism to this country. I mean, don't you think that there are other areas also which could be promoted for tourism influx from these countries from both cost and utility perspective, with respect to the interest that these different countries, people evince at their own end? What are the areas you would suggest apart from yoga, Ayurveda, and probably music?
Apart from Ayurveda and yoga, I would suggest that tribal circuit. Tribal area is a special attraction. Desert circuit. You have deserts in the world, but you don't have friendly deserts. And when you talk of friendly deserts, the Rajasthan desert or Indian desert for that matter is very friendly desert, green desert. Jaisalmer is a top destination now. So I would suggest now let us go for the specific kind of tourism production, tourism promotion. As I mentioned, the tribal, again unexplored, even in Rajasthan, where I come from, Banswara Dungur belt, very strong in tribal culture, very beautiful landscape, very green resources. So I would suggest, in addition to Ayurveda and yoga, we can concentrate on our tribal culture, our desert culture, our forests, our mangroves, and our what I call is the geographical or geological highlights. And when there was solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, we can even promote solar tourism, lunar tourism. And now that we see Dennis Tito is there as a space tourist and a space tourism promotion is there. So that way we are lucky in India. There is so much of variety of potential destinations and areas available. So we can promote in all possible ways because the geographical variation in our country is fantastic. We have greens, we have deserts, we have seashore, we have marshy lands, we have one of the best bird sanctuary in the world, and that is our Bharatpur sanctuary. And so that way, in addition to yoga and Ayurveda, I would strongly recommend the tribal circuit, desert circuit, forests, and all these off the beaten track circuits to be promoted. Thank you.
Security and safety is one big area of concern, which globally, is a area which is played, by the media reports, global media agencies, and it really marks. And there are vested interests that we all understand, but we understand. We need to make people not understand, probably, rewind or unwind their understanding of India being an unsafe country, insecure country, or from a women perspective, especially from, the confidence that the global audience has in India from being a very, very corrupt country, a banana republic, a snake charming, a snake charmers country, all those. Not only it's about positioning in the right frame, but it's also unwinding a lot of negative positioning which has happened over decades. What all would you suggest on that?
I think now gradually, Amitji, things are changing very fast. From snake charmers, now we are mouse charmers, the mouse of computer. Now we are an IT superpower. And right, there are some security issues in our tourism sector. Unfortunately, there have been some cases where tourists had suffered because of the behavior of our certain segments of society. But now most of the state governments, they are aware of these issues, and we have created in our Rajasthan also like tourist police and special security arrangements for the tourist destinations. And even during promotion of Visit India campaign, do's and don'ts for tourists, the guidelines, the code of conduct we promote. And yes, now gradually the image of India at the global level is of IT superpower, number one. Number two, culturally very rich destination, very, very cuisine or craft or culture. I think we have that kind of image now. And of course, our monuments are our biggest draw. Our cultural traditions are our biggest draw. And we should ensure the security and safety of tourists so that there is no negative publicity. And state governments have played a very important role. And this tourist police experiment has been reasonably a successful initiative, which can further be strengthened to ensure safety and security of the tourist. And also image makeover from snake charmer to now cyber charmers. Now we are cyber charmers of the world, IT superpower of the world, and we should promote that. Thank you.
Visa relaxation norms. This is another important area which can really boost tourism. Bangkok, for example, uses the Indian tourists very effectively with the no visa on a visa on arrival kind of routes. What has your ministry? What are the internal dynamics that work between the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Tourism to probably improve this visa on arrival status with respect to 195 nations that we have around the world? And Maldives, for example, doesn't even need a visa for Indian tourists, for Indians. Now that is yes, there are many pros and cons to it, but if we're talking only about tourism, would you like to suggest something to the Ministry of External Affairs and the Tourism Ministry going forward from the visa perspective?
Yeah, Government of India have taken very, very effective steps, especially e-visa, this visa on online, visa on arrival, and there has been a coordination between Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of External Affairs, and Home Ministry. There has to be a coordination between three because there are some security issues. So we cannot promote in a blanket way visa on arrival, or for that matter, what you call e-visa or electronic or online visas. So Government of India has been very, very liberal on these issues, and because of the initiative taken by the Ministry of Tourism and granting online visas, the arrival of foreign tourists pre-COVID was extremely high, and it responded very well. Now we can, of course, as pandemic is becoming gradually endemic, and once the international travel restrictions are eased, I'm sure we will get good number of foreign tourists, and our visa regime is also now very, very tourist friendly, and it will lead to a very positive growth of tourism in the coming years to come. Thank you.
Academically, sir, exchange programs with foreign students is another area which can really cause a huge amount of influx into this country. We have foreign exchange programs wherein Indian students are visiting, but we don't really hear much about the foreign students coming to India to explore various areas of interest from tourism perspective and in the name of student exchange programs. Is your ministry working? Has your ministry initiated some things with the Ministry of HRD on this front? Yeah, we keep hearing, but on the ground, I never see, except for a few cities or a few places, we hardly see a group of students visiting this country. A block of 30 students from Afghanistan, sorry, from US, from European countries, from China. Medical tourism is happening. Okay, but student tourism should be promoted. What are your views on that?
You very rightly observed, Amishji, that yes, medical tourism India is a very good destination now because we have got some of the top world-class hospitals in our. There are chain of hospitals which provide world-class medical facilities, whether it is All India Institute of Medical Sciences or all the leading groups. But when it comes to educational tourism or promoting India as an academic destinations, we have miles to go. See, amongst the top 100 universities of the world, there is hardly any Indian universities that way. So I think this is our weak link. Number of Indian students going out is much larger than the foreign students coming into India. I think it is 1:10 almost. So we have to make efforts, and I'm sure with the coming of new education policy of Government of India, which will be followed by all over country, academic standards, educational infrastructure will improve. And like the university which I am heading as a chairperson and chancellor of the Vivekananda Global University, we have about 200 foreign students from 15 countries, mostly from Africa and other of our UAE countries. But the fact remains that we are not one of the top educational tourism destinations or academic destinations for that matter. I'm sure with the coming of NEP, that is National Education Policy, things will improve in the coming years. Thank you.
Sir, final point that I have is 5 suggestions for the Modi government to take forward in the next 2-3 years.
I would request Government of India, number one, that tourism should be included in the concurrent list, so that presently tourism is in a residuary list. It doesn't figure in the central list or a state list, or it should be. And it has been a request from the tourism industry also that it should be mentioned in the concurrent list, so that Government of India and the state governments can jointly legislate and plan it. Second would be at the student level, at the school level, tourism and cultural management should be included as part of the syllabus, so that the student of today is a tourist of tomorrow. They should be exposed to the condition that the tourists, when they visit the area, they bring a lot of economic prosperity and they should be treated well. Third thing I would request is the management of our cultural properties. which are our highlights, whether it's Taj Mahal or Qutub Minar or Banaras or Khajuraho, all those top tourist destinations. Health, hygiene, neat and clean management, cultural conservation should be ensured so that when the tourists they come, they have what we call a memorable experience. That should be our priority. And last point should be the safety and security of our tourists. Uh, Tourist police is there, but again, we have to increase the number. We have to ensure that there is no unethical practices in our tourism sector. Uh, Potential of tourism sector is immense. We have only harvested, to my mind, it appears that we
I had lost my connection for a couple of seconds. Now I heard this. Finally, as Chancellor of Vivekananda Global University, Jaipur, it's a role that you are, donning and taking this university to new heights. Like in all your previous assignments, all across the domains and board that we meet people, it's all about Dr. Pawar's wonderful personality and his charismatic helpfulness that really makes people remember him in good stead all the time. So is the case with me. Global University, Vivekananda Global University, Jaipur. Could you just speak probably for a minute on it and with respect to major initiatives of your university before we end this show, sir?
thank you, Omidji. Thanks for your very kind words. I'm grateful for your observations, and it has been a privilege and pleasure working with Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and all those state governments. Right now, I am working as chairperson and chancellor of Vivekananda Global University in Jaipur. We have a beautiful campus of 35 acres, green campus with 12 faculty members. We also have our Institute of Hotel Management. And I have suggested to the management that let's launch foreign language courses. So the students who are working or who are studying here can have knowledge of the foreign language. And also, I recommended to the Vice Chancellor that let's go from next academic session skill development courses in tourism sector so that our boys and girls can get direct employment. And also I'm promoting what you call the concurrent award of skill diplomas to our general students. So that when they pass out, they are directly placed in tourism and hospitality sector, especially now that Rajasthan is one of the top tourist destinations in our country. We are promoting in a big way, and we have international tourists, as I mentioned, international students on our campus, almost 200 of them from 15 countries. And we are promoting students from Africa, from UAE, and we launched this thing. So since we are Vivekananda Global University, so
Sir, it was a for almost an hour. 20 minutes becomes an hour, and we can go on. This is an opportunity we never wanted to miss. And like you, there have been 70 people who've already spoken on these different subjects. Just 3 days back, we had Dr. Kasturi Rangan addressing us on the education policy and the curriculum framework as well. And we look forward to meeting you again on various initiatives of Vision India 25. It is an opportunity to take India in the right direction using the finest minds that we have in this country available currently with us, and so that in the next 25 years we can reach where probably our forefathers, including people like you, have laid foundation with their hard work for decades. Look forward, sir. Jai Hind. Namaskar.